the framers of the Kenyan Constitution 2010 may not have failed the way that you perceive it to be. A lot of the things that you said the president is authorized to do is actually not authorized to do under the Kenyan Constitution. For example, the superfluous role of the president in appointing the Chief Justice is just that, superfluous, in the sense that the Constitution structured a process of appointment that if it were to work the way that it was designed, the president's role is that of a rubber stamp. 3 names are supposed to be presented to the president and he chooses one. The 3 names that are coming through the appointment process, through the judicial service commission process, are supposed to be 3 names of qualified, competent, and jurists with integrity, one of whom will be impeccable in terms of performing their role. But one thing that a constitution cannot do, and the Kenyan constitution and no constitution in the world can do, is to stop human behavior. You can probably do that when you punish people for so long until they stop doing something, which is why the Chinese system probably sometimes works, in the sense that if you are involved in corruption, you can be executed. So therefore, the fear of death stops people from engaging in nefarious activities. So, for instance, bribery. If you don't punish those who give bribes severely and those who receive them, then you won't be able to stop bribery. But that is not in the Constitution. Nothing in the Kenyan Constitution gives the president or anybody else the right or even the opportunity to bribe. But they do bribe with no consequences. Nothing in the Constitution says if a president is caught bribing, there is no consequence in law. So that is and you can't really set out that in the Constitution and it works, because as I said, some of these limits in human behavior cannot be legislated, or you cannot put it in the Constitution and it works itself. The police, for instance, was supposed to be having a police oversight body, and the police is supposed to be an independent service that is answerable to the Constitution and the people of Kenya. But we know that the president still gets to control it through bribery, through colonial tentacles that, even though they were weakened and some of them allegedly cut, still operate. But they don't operate within the Constitution. They operate outside the Constitution. You brought a very important point that, for instance, the president should be able to be impeached or accountability mechanisms brought against him or her if they fail to obey court orders. You see, the interesting part is that none of these court orders are directed at the president as such. The court orders would be addressed to specific ministries and specific public officers. For instance, the Director of Public Prosecutions, for instance, the Permanent Secretary Principal Secretary or Cabinet Secretary for Interior, for instance. And it is those people that fail to obey court orders. The requirement is that if you have an independent police service, that police service will then enforce the court order. The problem with Kenya is that, and with all over the world, there is no judiciary that controls the police. There is no judiciary in the US, there is no judiciary in Canada, there is no judiciary in the UK, or in any other country that has a police service. So you require an independent professional police to enforce court orders, to apprehend people that have been cited by courts, and to take them in. But they don't do that in Kenya, which is why I go further than your prescription. I say no. The problem is not the constitution. The problem are not the statutes. The problem is the state itself. The colonial state was not set up to account to an African. It was set up to oppress the African. And we never restructured the state. The values of this state is anti-African. The reason why the police service in Kenya will protect a white man who is not even a citizen of Kenya, but will oppress a Kenyan who is a citizen, is because the state that they serve is meant for the white man. That is how it was conceived, that is how it was set up, and that is how it has been operated. So my prescription is this, because it's happening all over the country. White men come there as soldiers in Nanyuki. They rape women, they kill them, and then they just take a flight and leave. And the Kenyan police do not arrest them. The Kenyan state does not prosecute them. And if they are taken to court, the judges do not sentence them to anything other than a slap in the wrist, because the state was made for them. So I'm saying, this is my prescription. We overhaul the entire Kenyan state. Its culture, its design, its structure, its institutions, its mores, its values, its laws are anti-African from the beginning. Until and unless we do this, these problems will never go away. This is a major political undertaking that none of you are talking about, because the educational system limited your ability to go beyond what has been set up. You only think at the surface. You take these things as given. You assume that the Kenyan state is good. You assume that the institutions are good and are meant to do good things. You assume the laws were designed to help you and to protect your rights. You parrot human rights as if it is a given. You talk about the judiciary, and I've done that also to an extent. Its independence and whatnot. They are not actually that independent. Jurisprudentially, the judiciary serves power all over the world. Okay? The judiciary is not set up to serve the public. It's set up to serve power. Parliament does the same. All these institutions serve power. So that is why we have to address the problem. But unfortunately, the level of debate is at the level of superficiality. We are dealing with window dressings. We are dealing with paint. We are dealing with makeup. I call them makeup. All these things about IBC, the police, this is makeup. This is not the fundamental problem. So philosophically, we need to get to the fundamental problem. The unfortunate part is that the general populace is not intellectually, philosophically equipped to deal with this problem I'm addressing. So they will listen to the politicians and whatnot. So you need a group of very serious people who understand how the system was designed, how it works, how it operates historically to address this problem. And if you addressed it, all these other things become irrelevant. So, having said that, let's now go back to the superficialities. Now, there was a warning that Justice Lenaola gave, I believe last month or a month or maybe in November. And it is a warning that attention has not been paid to it very much. But that is where the problem actually lies more than anything else. Lenaola was honest enough to say, look, I'm talking from the judiciary. and I'm going to sound a warning. I'm going to tell you that during Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment, our judiciary pothole was taken over and was being controlled from elsewhere and was enabled or disabled from taking the petition or application that Gachagua filed for a stay until it was too late. So technically, Ruto took over the judiciary portal and controlled it and denied Gachagua fair fair opportunity to have his case, his impeachment case, addressed. And he said, so if he could do this with the judiciary portal that he's not supposed to have ability to control, what will happen when the next election comes with the IBC portal? A Supreme Court judge said this, and the country sat there, and it is as if people have been numbed to a point of incapacity. Nothing happened. Even the headlines were muted, and there has been no debate. That warning alone was enough to send Ruto home. That Lenaola statement and warning alone. That warning alone should have led to a independent judicial inquiry as to what happened during Gachagua's impeachment and the role of Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza regime, and that would have sent the entire government home. It can still do so, but I don't feel the anger. I don't feel it. I don't even feel it in this space. The anger should be so palpable against this egregious encroachment into an independent judicial space, which is not allowed by the Constitution or by any other law. So it's not because the Constitution failed to protect the judiciary or the IBC or its portals and infrastructure that enabled Ruto to do this. No, he did something completely illegal. This is almost like Watergate. In fact, more than Watergate, that brought Nixon down, President Nixon down. This is the worst scandal that has happened in recent times. And I don't hear anything about it. We should be hearing more about it. And this is why I am saying, and I'm sorry I'm past the hour, if we are not able to deal with this problem, then this noise, which I consider a stupid noise about constitute the IBC, will be nothing but stupid. It is a stupid noise. Why are you constituting a body that Ruto controls? Why? Why are you in a hurry to do this? Why do you want to waste time helping Ruto craft his own succession? Right? So, number two, somebody said we need to have the youth, the Gen Zs, get out to register, get ID cards, and register as voters. I want that to happen, and I hope it will happen. But remember, Ruto's PS for immigration, the person who is responsible, and the Ministry of Interior, he controls 100%. He's the one who decides who is going to be registered. He's going to do gerrymandering the way they do it in Nigeria. He's going to perfect the Nigerian example, where the Hausa Fulani, who are very few, are mysteriously supposed to be more than the entire south of Nigeria. You know, they're a handful. So this is what Ruto is trying to do with Nuruddin Haji. And to me, I'm seeing a situation where Ruto is actually registering as Kenyans, Somalis, Ugandans, Southern Sudanese, and Congolese. And they will register as Luos, as Somalis, and as other communities that he perceives are supporting him. This is why the Pinyuluo thing was done in Siaya this year. Mark my word. This is why Raila and the rest did this thing in Siaya and invited Museveni. It is a conspiracy to inflate figures so that it could gerrymander whatever election is coming. So this system needs to be audited thoroughly. This system needs to be overhauled. This system needs to be ring-fenced and protected. How is your problem, not me? I'm just telling you this needs to be done. Now, last solution. I believe that Kenyans must start forming cells. So wherever you are, you have to have cells of 15 people around you, each one of us. If you do not have 15, and that 15 also has 15, and that 15 also has 15 in concentric circles, we will not be able to defeat this man. But that is the way we have to go. We have to construct physical cells. We have to construct virtual cells. We must continue to attack Ruto 24/7. These silhouettes, those cartoons, those messages, those coffins should sprout in their millions. Let Ruto become so angry, even commit suicide if he wants. But let us harass Ruto constantly. Let us pelt Ruto with every weapon we have. So if you only have your pen, use it. Like the Palestinian writer said, that if the Israeli came to him and all he had was a marker or a pen, he would throw it at them because that's the weapon he has. Use whatever weapon. If your ability is to draw silhouettes, do it 1,000 times. If your ability is to construct words, poetry, use it. If it is music, use it. If it is cartoons, use it. If it is being on social media 24/5, no matter what they say, do it. If it is a question of mobilizing on the ground, go ahead and redouble your efforts. I thank you.